And now we're going to go ahead and turn things over to Xatli Stox to
Okay, so good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are. Thank you for joining us. We love that presentation from Anne-Marie, and I'm really excited to share a little more in depth one of the competencies tonight or today. So if you are now with me, let's just add in the chat, select one of those emojis. How do you feel today? Are you okay? Are you now excited about all what you're learning about social emotional learning? So let's just say in the chat how you're feeling today. If you're cold, it's here super cold in North Carolina, but as well we have our sweater. So how do you feel today? Ooh, a cat lover. I love that emoji. Thank you. Thank you. We are super excited. We really love this invitation and being able to present to you tonight. So thank you for joining us and all your participation. Okay, so we're gonna talk. Thank you. A lot of happy people. You set the standard, Anne-Marie. Now I'm nervous. Okay, excellent. Thank you. So we're gonna talk about developing self-awareness skills in the language classroom. And we're gonna see a little more about what is it that are emotions and all that we are talking about when we refer specifically about self-awareness. So research, and this is going to be another question. You're going to have a lot of interaction in the chat. And think about this question: what sparks joy in your life? So research indicates that positive emotion increases attention and leads to better memory. Several research studies have shown the impact of emotional intelligence on learning and all aspects of our lives. We know that as language educators, when our students are engaged and they're happy with what they're learning, it's like it flows. They really connect and they learn and they want to use the language. So we have thoughts and activities that help us re-energize and feel better when we are tired, when we are frustrated, or we are stressed. So I'm super happy that everybody had like positive emotions in those emojis, but sometimes we are a little tired, frustrated, and just like feel like we need to stop. So what is it that gives you that re-energized moment, like helps you, those brain breaks and those focus attention practices that help you positively and change your emotional states and learning? So while you think, I'm going to share a couple of things that I always do that I feel that spark joy in my life. And when I think of these two activities and situations, that really makes me happy. And one is I have a hybrid schedule at work. So I have some days in the office, some other days at home. So when I have the opportunity to work at home, I share the office space with my husband. And sometimes when I feel stuck, like I can function, I need a break, then I stop and I simply look at him. And I know this is silly, but I look at him and he looks so focused sometimes that he's just smiling at the screen, and I just stare at him, and that gives me calm. That makes me feel like, okay, then I refocus. And sometimes he notices that I'm looking, and we laugh and we have a quick chat, and then that helps me calm and refocus. And something else that happens that sparks joy in my life is I have two fur babies. There are two cats, and one of them loves coming and laying on my keyboard. And it's annoying sometimes, but I miss her when I'm in the office. I'm like, I don't have my cat. And I decided that instead of feeling annoyed, I will enjoy those moments and I will just let her do it. And sometimes it's really difficult to reach out because I disconnect, I unplug the keyboard, and I just let her lay down because I feel like I need to enjoy her being there and purring instead of being upset. So I make that switch. I decide that one emotion is not going to affect this. I'm going to change how I act and react to that emotion. So observing my husband while he works and listening to my cat first is what sparks joy in my life. So what about you? What sparks joy in your life? I saw somebody in the chat said students. Yes, it's like we are forever young educators because those kids bring so much energy at any level, elementary, middle, or high school. They always bring that joy, and they keep us on our toes all the time. So that's true, our students. I see playing with my kids and chocolate, hot chocolate, yes. Um, Okay, I see some other activities. This is my puppy, listening to music, the bills, yes. Days off, sleeping, coffee, yes, excellent. So these are some things that we realize that if we do, then we're gonna feel better. Thank you, my grandchildren, excellent. And grannies and granddads, they're spoiling those kids. They have a lot of fun, I know. Movies, gym, shopping, excellent. Thank you. So when we talk about this, it's important to develop self-awareness skills ourselves. Because if we are strong on these, we have strong skills, then we can help students. And we do it. And Marie was numbering, was listing some activities and saying, this is what we can do. And I'm sure that we have done those activities in the classroom. But when we want to help our students really learn, like, okay, let's talk about emotions. What is this? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling like this? And then what can I do after this? Then it's important to make it a direct moment that you really talk about it. It's specific and they learn how to talk about those feelings and emotions. So thank you for sharing in the chat. So we share the definition of self-awareness and social emotional self-awareness, meaning having the ability to understand those thoughts, those emotions, those values, and also knowing that those factors influence our behavior and having the capacity to think with an open mind and being realistic and what are my weaknesses? What are my strengths? And then that helps maintain our confidence, our drive, and our desire to grow. And when we help our students learn about this, that helps them in language learning because then they know, okay, maybe I need to improve a little more on this, and then I'm going to plan these activities to be better, to improve my listening skills, to improve my writing skills. But then they have those goals, they set those goals and they know. And then they have this growth mindset that, okay, I'm at this point now, but if I start doing making some changes, I'm going to be at another level later in this certain time that I'm going to say, I'm going to review again in a month, in a semester, in a year, and then that helps. And not only for language learning, but their entire life, which is what we want. Because developing self-awareness helps develop the other competencies. If I can identify my emotions, then I can show empathy for others. I can make better decisions and I can be social, emotionally healthy. And that's what we want of our students. And then we said, but why are we talking about emotions? Why we're not psychologists? We're not the social worker. I'm the language teacher. Why do I need to talk about this? And then we talk about the brain, and we have some research that says, well, the brain needs that stimulus. We learn because emotions affect that learning. Emotions can affect thinking, attention, memory, and therefore learning. If a student is scared, if we have, for example, my world is the ESL world, English as a second language. When we have those students that are refugees, they had just recently arrived to the US and they are emerging in a culture that they don't know, is new, is a new language, it's a new culture, a new school setting. Maybe some of them were in a different school setting or they have never been in the school setting. So when they come here, it's absolutely shocked. And then this is when we say, then they won't be able to learn the way we want them and as fast as we want them because they are in that emotional shock that they need to overcome. And that's what is so important to help them. And then that's when research says, yes, we need to help because the brain learns through experience and the knowledge that is acquired through an intense emotion is more memorable. But sometimes we have negative emotions and some other times we have positive emotions. And that's what we want to help our kids have in our classes, those positive emotions and help them grow and learn and overcome those fears, anxiety, and those obstacles and be able to talk about their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, because that is going to impact their learning process. And I have some quotes from this book. I cited the book on the bottom. And if you have the chance to read it, it's an amazing book because it talks about different ways to reach our students, to modify our instruction in a way that we can reach all our students. So one of those paths is emotion. And I love when she says, we have to not only fire the network, we have to wire it. So we create a lot of activities, we provide all the content, we have all these, but in our context as educators, we also need to help the students make those connections, connect the dots, provide those opportunities for them to have that spark, that's something that helps them fall in love with content, with language, to see that, hey, when they have those questions like, why do I need to learn this language? Why do I need to learn this about? Why do I need to write if I want to speak? I want to travel and I want to speak and listen to people. Why do I need to write and read? So when we have all those kind of questions, then we need to remind them that, hey, language is one of the most important parts of culture, and communication covers all those four domains. And then the way you learn is the more you can read, the more you can speak, the more you can write. And it's like all of them are interconnected. So we help them see that there is a connection there. And by learning that, that helps them build relationships and create a sense of the community. So that's fantastic. And one of the research studies that Sedina talks about is something that, and I wonder in the chat if you want to share, is the impact of stress on student learning. And they said that there are three effects: freeze, flight, and fight. And I'm guilty of those. When I was in the classroom, sometimes I did this. And we have those students that are, you ask them a question and they're kind of like deer in the headlights. Their mind goes blank when you ask something. You ask them to complete a sentence. Maybe you're in a role play and you call them out. You want to have them all participate, and you have, I remember I used to have a little jar with their names, and I will just grab one of those sticks and say, oh, so and so. And then I wasn't aware of, like, maybe I'm generating some frustration in my students, and some of them might not be ready to participate and produce the way I expect them, or they just be shy. And then when we have call outs, as I was saying, or tests, not all kids are test takers. They sometimes freeze and they just don't know what to do. And they're like, I knew everything, I studied, I did everything right. And right now during the test, I'm just panicking. So there are some strategies. And then Marie shares some of those. And one for this specifically for freeze is offer wait time. And just use strategies such as think, pair, and share, where you have the time for them to work on their own, some independence practice, then they have the opportunity to work in small groups, and then decide who is going to share. And then eventually, that student that is shy, they're going to take the risk. We're going to help them grow. And when we talk about those emotions, say, but why do you freeze? What is the problem? What do you think you need to practice? Then that awareness starts building and developing, and then they start trying. And the other effect is flight. And they say when we have those students that refuse to participate or do an assignment because they feel it's threatening, and it's like, for example, when we have um, a role play and we said, okay, you're going to have this role, you have this other role, and we're going to play this conversation. And sometimes we see students that their palms are sweating, they're breathing faster, they can think clearly. And it's like, but you have it, you can read it, it's okay. But sometimes it's hard for them. So we say we can offer alternative formats for those students. So one example is, if a student doesn't like to speak in public, then you can practice blogging with this student. You can say there are some digital tools. We use a lot of Flipgrid in the US. And you can say you can record your video, you practice your listening, your speaking, and then we watch it together. And eventually we can do it in a small group and then with the whole class. And this is another one I was guilty of. I used to love playing hot potato. And for those of you that might not familiar with this, is that you pass around one object or something, and then you start singing hot potato, and then you said stop. When it stops, the person that has this object, they have to play something, act out, or give an answer. And sometimes it's hard because then that's when the students are they're panicking, like, I don't want to get the potato. And then you are missing that student, and they are disconnecting because they're terrified. And it's not you, it's not the language, it's just that moment, and their brain telling them there is a threatening moment, we need to just shut down. And then how you can create some opportunities, share in advance. Tomorrow or next week, we're going to play hot potato, and we're going to practice this vocabulary. Do you want to work together? Can we review together? Do you want to work with a peer? And then giving them those opportunities. Or if they have to say sentences, provide some sentence frames and say, you can use this as a sample and just change some words and create another sentence with this. And then that gives them those feelings like, I can do this. And then once they feel like they can do it, then that's when they try and they really take some effort in your class. So the last one is fight. And it says respond to threat, fear, and anxiety with anger. Is when we have those students that might be verbally or physically reactive, and they're like, I don't want to do it, or they might be aggressive. So then is when you help them reflect on those emotions. So what is happening? Why do you feel this way? Why are you experiencing this? And then identify those moments and including reflection in your classroom and helping them talk about it. So again, it's helping the students understand how they feel and help them find ways to cope with those emotions and switch their behaviors and create this as a routine in your class. So Anne-Marie was talking about the 3 signature practices. And then that's when you say, okay, I have these activities in which we are going to talk about how we feel, how can we manage these feelings, what are my thoughts, and what are the possible behaviors. So that will help them get used to it and talking about it. And when they don't know, they feel like it's safe to talk to you and say, hey, I feel like this with this specific activity. And this is, what can I do? It's not you. Sometimes the kids tell you, I love you, miss, but I just don't want to do it. I don't feel like I want to do it. So then it's talking to them and opening that space. And then this study talks, just take us to what we already know as language educators, and is the affective filter. So Krashen's affective filter hypothesis says that he talks about something very similar, and he says there are variables that affect learning: motivation, self-confidence, anxiety, personality traits, people that are very shy, introverts. So it's the same that the science of emotions was telling us how the brain works and how the brain is organizing everything and being prepared to learn, and in this case, learn the language. So Krashen claims that learners with high motivation, self-confidence, and good self-esteem, and that they have lowered that anxiety level, they can learn, that they are equipped. That is not the only way to learn, but it really helps and is necessary in the learning process. So we see how, again, it aligns to what we're talking about, social emotional competencies, and how it is important to develop this in the classroom. And here I have a video. I'm not gonna play it because of time, but I would love you to have this video. And it's the title is The Reflection in Me. And it shows how important is self-talk. Sometimes our students think, and we do it ourselves, like, oh, I can't do that. I won't even try. And no, forget about it. Oh, learning Russian, no, I can't do that. But when you are in the situation and you can try and you feel engaged, you're motivated, then you're like, yes, I can do this. And then you start working on it. So we have some activities that we use in the language classroom, like all about me, those different getting to know each other activities in which students use descriptive adjectives. So this is one example in the picture that says just me, and how the student has used different words describing how they are and what they are. And then in the video, they also describe those things, like how do you talk to yourself? What are those descriptive adjectives that you're using? And when you, thank you for sharing the video. And when you learn this, then the students see it and they're like, okay, well, I might not be as good as somebody else in this, but if I work hard on this, then I will improve. And again, it's teaching that growth mindset. It's teaching them you're at this level today, but if you start working, then you're going to improve, and your weaknesses, they're going to be maybe your strengths later, and then you're going to learn, and it's going to be better. And also understanding who we are and our thoughts, our cultural identity, our strengths and weaknesses. This is really important for the ESL class, because we have students that come to the US with a different culture, a different language, and we want them to be valued in the classroom, to understand that they bring a richness to the classroom, that we all are learning from them. And when we're teaching another language, it's the same. We are like, okay, we want to learn about that culture. We want to learn about that specific language, and create that community, because then we can really grow and learn from each other. And when you see and you're interested, then again, then it's like everything comes and your brain wires, and everything sticks. And then you see your students blooming, and you see those students that at the beginning, they may be reluctant to learning the foreign language or second language, but then when they click, they see like, oh, I can learn this, I can learn it, and it's value in learning this, because I will access the world. It's going to be another perspective. So we really love that. And we're going to go, this is the last resource we want to share before we go to an activity. And this is called The Size of Feelings. And it also has a link for a video that I won't play, but you will have, promise, once you get the slides. But this is beautiful, because this tells the students, it's okay if you're angry, you're frustrated, if you're stressed, if you're happy, if you're excited, calm, all emotions are okay, because emotions are around us all the time. And sometimes our students feel like, oh, I'm upset, and it's wrong, I shouldn't be upset. And no, let's see what happens. So this activity, this resource, The Size of Feelings, what it does is helps the students understand those emotions that are around us, and say, okay, so, and what they use is super neat, because it's a thermometer, and they say, based on the thermometer, they label them like in number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, where number 1 is when the students are calm, those calm feelings, they're relaxed. And then it goes up to number 5 when it's like out of control and frustrated and angry. And it gives you ideas of how to work with the students and helping them understand their emotions. And it talks about thoughts, that first they need to think about it. Why is it that I feel? What am I thinking when this activity comes up? Teacher, you're talking about role playing. Why is it that I don't like role playing? What is in my body? Do I get my palms are sweaty? My heart is beating? Do I feel shaky? And then behaviors. I shut down, but why? And then they identify those things. And when they see it, when you see in the video, the thermometer shows, for example, different examples of what you can ask your students, so they understand and they can tell you, I'm at a level 3 today, but I'm trying to calm down. I'm trying to think about something different. I'm trying to change this. And I can say that I was at a level 5 with a sound in English. English is my second language. And there was a word, and I love the story, and it's about the 7 dwarfs. There you go, dwarfs. Well, it was hard for me to learn that sound. It took me forever. That I really thought I was at level 5, and I said, I don't care, I'm not gonna use the word. I have other stories I can talk about, because every time I try to say the word dwarf, it's super hard for me, because in my first language that sound doesn't exist. And sometimes the students don't know those things. They just learn the language and they learn as we teach them. But when we show them there are differences and we say, well, maybe it's hard because it's new. It's a new, when we're learning Arabic, they don't have some sounds that we have in English, and it's completely different. So then they see that. And when I learned in my case, in my example, that it was so hard for me to use that, to say that word. And I asked friends, like, how do you say this word? And I would write it down because I was always afraid of saying it wrong. I knew it was going to come out wrong. They will say, oh, it's dwarf, dwarf, dwarf. And I will try to repeat it and it will never come right. And sometimes I say it and it comes wrong. And then I started practicing and I learned it's a different sound and this is the sound. And I practice with other words that had the same sound in different positions in the word. And I finally learned how to say it, that sometimes when I try, like tonight, I think it's coming right. So my English native speakers, you please tell me, but yeah, dwarf. And now I know. So it's something similar with our students, is telling them, you have your emotions, where are you in that spectrum from 1 to 5? And in the video, they give you those examples. So level 5 is, I like this, I can do this, I'm in your class and I love your class. Level 2 is, I'm tired, but I like this class. And they're like, but why am I tired? Do I need to move? Do I need to switch? Maybe I've been on the screen for too long. What is it that I need to do? Level 3 is, I'm confused. Oh my God, another chat activity, but then those kind of things. Level 4 is, I can follow along. Level 5 is, it's desperate, it's out of control, I don't want to do this anymore. So when they understand that, then they can start expressing and say, I feel stressed because we have done this activity too many times and it's hard for me. You have asked me to pronounce the word dwarf too many times and it's hard. So then when they express that, then it's easier because then they say, okay, so now I know I'm at level 4. What do I need to do to go to level 1? Oh, thank you, Sarah. She says that I said it right. Yay. Okay, so I really recommend you to go and explore this because it's a fantastic resource, and use it with high school students, with college students. They love it. They love it because they're learning about themselves and they're finally overcoming difficulties that they find when they're learning the language. So to finish this part, online environment, you have different activities. Dwarf, oh my God, somebody's trying over there. Don't jump in that boat because it's so hard, but no, I think I got it. We have different activities. We have synchronous and synchronous and asynchronous activities. And we can provide opportunities for language learners to develop self-awareness skills. They can reflect, they can collaborate, they can talk about feelings, expectations, likes, dislikes, utilizing the 4 language domains. So what are those activities? So for synchronous, you can use the chat comments, you can use polling, breakout rooms, share outs. All the video conferencing tools have whiteboards, so you can have them writing. Virtual field trips now is fantastic. You can call somebody, this person. There are some that are by museums, that really official field trips that they show you everything online. But there are some others that you can call a friend who lives in another country, and this person comes out and take you to one plaza or one store and tells you a story, and the students live that. Many of our students might not have the opportunity to travel to another country, but when they have those opportunities, then they can experience the language and say, hey, so I was learning about this in one of my lessons, and I have this vocabulary that I can use, and they feel empowered, confident, and they're motivated and engaged. And for asynchronous activities, again, you can still create those opportunities to practice self-awareness skills. You have discussion boards, you have interactive boards, blogging, vlogging. Vlogging is creating videos. It's the same as blogging. Blogging is having these journaling entries, but vlogging is with videos. People are having now YouTube channels. I'm too scared of that. I've tried a couple of times, but I haven't succeeded yet. And then also consensus building activities. So different things that they can work together, but they still have some responsibility, and they are working on the language, but they're also developing those self-awareness skills. And as we said, once they develop those, it's like those help them develop the other ones. It's easier, all comes together. And then I think, let's see, we're going to have an activity. And Marie was talking about the three practice activities that we have with self. And this is an engaging strategy. And I was thinking we're going to do it on Twitter. But if you do not have Twitter, feel free to add the comments in the chat. So don't hesitate. If you want to use LinkedIn or Facebook, you can do it as well. So what are we going to do here? Before we continue talking, and I know some people mentioned LinguaFolio in the chat, and I want to show you LinguaFolio. What better than you going and digging into that resource and exploring? And it's going to be super easy, and I hope it's fun. And it's going to be on a scavenger hunt, and you're going to have in a minute. Oh, you have it. Thank you, Anne-Marie. The link to make your copy, and I'll show you my example in a second. So what you're going to explore is the LinguaFolio resource that we have in North Carolina. And I'm going to tell you about it in the next slides. But this is a resource developed by NACESFO, and we have it in North Carolina when our language educators, both world languages and ESL teachers, they have implemented it. And we really love, and we have it that is available so you can do it. And when you click something in the chat that says you don't have access, when you click, it should tell you you have to make a copy of the document. And you click and make the copy, and then you should see the document. And then what we're going to do, we have some questions. Is it opening? Ooh, let me double check. Let me click on this link and see what's happening. You should be able to make the copy. It tells you that you need access and copy. Let's see. Because you should be able to make the copy, and it shouldn't be a problem. Let me see. What can we do? What can we do?
You can take the word copy off of the URL at the top, delete that and press return.
And then that will let them in?
You have to change the settings. So at the upper right, are the permissions.
Yeah.
And anyone with the link.
Yeah. Let me change this.
Well, view is enough, but that's okay.
Okay. But you have now all my answers.
Now we can try again, yes?
Let me copy very quickly this slide and transfer it to the other one so you can have the new slide with the activity, so you can do it. No problem. There you go. Let's get rid of this. I was going to show you. So now, but what I want you to do is make a copy of this file, because otherwise you're going to start deleting what other person is doing. So let me put it again, first copy, and I'm going to put this link in the chat. I think I'm running out of time, so let's do it very quickly. Okay. And it should work now. This link should let you create your copy, hopefully. So if not, just duplicate the slide and go for it. Just change your name if that works. We can do that, because in the copy it says write your name. So that could be another option. So what we're doing is we're going to explore LinguaFolio, our LinguaFolio Canvas Hub. And there are some questions. And the questions are very specific, and we highlighted in the Canvas Hub so we can do it faster. It's going to be something very fast, but we want you to be aware of all the resources that are there that are free that you can use even if you're not in the US. And then you have access to all that. So there are some questions. I don't know how we're doing on time. If I can work on this, Sarah, or I should skip this activity? What do you think?
I think you
We
should
have a few minutes. We'd definitely be interested if you'd like to share with us.
tell us about it.
Okay, so what we were doing was having this scavenger hunt. I wanted you to explore the hub. I think for time and for all this technology madness, we're not gonna do it. But then you still have it. We had some questions because I wanted you to go and explore, learn about what Linguafolio is, the classroom materials that we have available that are aligned to the standards, the online course that is available for our educators, not only North Carolina teachers, and our webinar series and Linguafolio Cafe. Because you can participate in these sessions. It might be difficult for your time. We have US Eastern time, 3:30 p.m. But we have archives, so you can watch the videos if you're interested. And we also have teacher videos, and these teachers are talking about implementation of Linguafolio, and they give some examples and they talk about their experience, and some of them have their students sharing about it. And I'll tell you in a minute why Linguafolio is important if you are not familiar with Linguafolio. And then I wanted you to go and follow us on social media and then tweet using our hashtag. That was a goal, but it's okay. We're not gonna do it. We're gonna skip this and we're gonna go straight to our next slide. And it's fine. It's fine. We're good. That's what we do now in online learning. We have to switch and have a plan B and keep going and rolling. So we're gonna continue. So why it's important to talk about Linguafolio and why I wanted you to go and explore. Is in North Carolina, we have this tool, and it's a formative assessment tool. And this is perfect for the self-awareness skills, developing these skills, because Linguafolio is based on the philosophy of empowering students to manage their own learning, reflecting on their learning, and setting goals and working on their strengths and weaknesses to improve their learning. So it goes perfectly with what we're talking about, self-awareness, because then it helps the students reflect and work and also keep a portfolio of their language learning. So there are three main parts of Linguafolio, and these are the biography, dossier, and the passport. And they work, you can use them the way you want it. You can use the three parts, or you can use just one. And we are going to talk about the biography components. So briefly, the other parts, the passport is just a snapshot. It's like a passport. You show in the passport those places you have been to and when you have been there. So with this, what students create is they have the records of this language. I have studied 3 years. I have 3 levels of Russian. I have practiced this other language, Mandarin, and any language. So they keep track of that. Maybe I only studied for 2 months Japanese, and those qualifications, self-assessments, all that information is collected in the passport. Then the dossier is the collection of samples. If I practice Japanese for 2 months, then I recorded some videos, I tried learning some kanjis, I learned my hiragana and katakana. So I have that evidence there to show my learning experience for those 2 months. And I don't think I can learn hiragana and katakana in 2 months, but and then biography components. Those are precious for these self-awareness experiences and helping the students, because these are a set of activities, and I'm going to go to the next slide, and we're going to focus on those. And what they do is they help you bring to the classroom those reflective activities, help the students identify those strengths, those weaknesses, and talk about them and set goals to improve and continue growing and progressing in their language learning. And it doesn't matter in which language they're learning and what is the target language, the new language. So we have these two. We're going to talk about, we have 6, but I want to show you at least the do I learn, how do I learn? And I'm going to open it, and you should have access. These are PDFs, so you shouldn't ask for any permission. And what this one has is, this one is great for these initial activities for self-awareness, because it helps the students identify the way they learn. How is it that I learn? How do I organize my work? What is the vocabulary that I'm learning? How can I improve my listening skill, my reading skills, my writing skills? And then they talk about the frequency. There are some, a set of activities, and they talk about the frequency, and you see there are some grids in which they mark how often they do these activities. And when they see it, they complete it, they realize that sometimes they never think about organizing their workspace, that now that they are online and they're practicing doing all these activities, they didn't think about that. It was in the classroom, but now the setting has changed. So how are they doing it? So they see it, and sometimes they say, oh, I always practice listening to the radio. I always do this, but I maybe sometimes never work on my pronunciation, never learn those different sounds. So what can I do? So the beauty of this, and I'm going to just skip to the next slide, is that in North Carolina, we had a project in which we always had the English version of these components. But since last year, we were able to offer to our educators the translations, because we thought when we have an emergent bilingual or somebody's in the novice level, the first level of learning a language, sometimes it's hard to reflect if I see the document in the other language or in English. So we thought if we provide this in the first stages of this reflective process, helping them think about what they do, how they are, their strengths and weaknesses, if it's in their first language, it's better. And that's for ESL students. But when we think about our students learning a foreign language, a world language, then we say, well, this is an authentic experience. They have it in English, if English is their first language, and then they can practice using the documents in the other languages. So you can make those copies and you can use them all. And let me see, you have those in two formats. You have PDFs and Word documents. And we did it this way because if you are using a learning management system, Google Classroom, Canvas, Microsoft for Education, whatever you're using, you can embed these documents as PDFs so your students download them, or you can add them in the Word format so they can complete them in their computers. So then you don't have to print and do all those different processes. They just come and do it online and then you have it. So this is something that we really love people to use. We have it available for free. You just, Anne-Marie sharing the chat, all these, and we have the different links. These are the languages that we have. And we are really excited that we can offer this. And we know that this is going to be a really good resource for our students. And when you start using it, helping them grow those and develop those self-awareness skills. So before we leave, because I know now, yes, we have French. I saw something, I think French was one of our first languages. There you go, French. Yes, we have French, Arabic, Chinese, Hindi, Spanish, Urdu, Vietnamese, French, German, Hmong, Japanese, Korean, and Russian. And you might think, why these languages? Shukran, Afwan. So you might think, why these languages? And it's because in North Carolina, we have a diverse population, but we have identified that in our schools, we have these languages as the predominant languages that are another language is spoken at home, different than English. So that's what we decided. If these are the most common languages in the US, in North Carolina, then this is the way we're gonna do it so our educators can use them. So that's why we have these and not maybe other languages. We hope that in the future we can have another project that sponsors this and we can have it. I think Russian is there. Yes, Russian is included. So I love that a lot of people are excited about having them. So please just share with us when you start using them, because we love that and being able to see what you are doing with your students using these resources. So to finish, because I know my time is just, it went by, we have this activity And Anne-Marie is gonna share in the chat one link to a Jamboard in a minute. And if you are not familiar with Jamboard, Jamboard is a whiteboard, it's a collaborative tool that you can use. And then we're gonna get together and work. And what is the idea? We have this question. How would you implement the social emotional learning information reviewed in this session, including Anne-Marie's session, to help your language learners develop self-awareness skills? So we added the links at the top. So you have the SAIL signature practices, the lingua folio biography components, and the size of feelings, if you were curious and you were looking at the videos. The video with the thermometer and labeling your emotions. So you have those three. And if you look at those and you say, how do you think you could implement this and help your students develop self-awareness skills? So how are we going to do this in the Jamboard? You're going to create a sticky note, and then you're going to title it with the component or the signature practice that you want to use. And then you're going to type, just write your answer. And we're going to maybe have less than 6 minutes. And let me show you what Jamboard looks like. You're going to see when you click on this, and then Marie is going to give you the link so you can access. You're going to see the whiteboard. And this is a free tool, so it shouldn't give you any issues. I hope I changed the access rights. You're going to see the options. You're going to select the one to create a sticky note. Once you click there, you're going to see the sticky note option, and you can change the color if you want. If not, you just type your answer, and we're going to show you the question again. And then we're going to click save once you have typed your answer, and then we are going to see it. So this is our question. How would you implement the social emotional learning information reviewed in this session to help your language learners develop self-awareness skills? So we're going to put the link in the chat. I think, yes, I think Anne-Marie had it in the chat, and I'm going to click to see if you can access. This one shouldn't give you any issue. Okay. There you go. And I see somebody is typing. So remember, you can just click, select, you can change the color, you can type your answer. I love the signature practices, and I hope that you realize that we were using them. We incorporated in our session those different activities that you can also use, and we are sure that you use them. Sometimes when we talk about these activities, educators use them. Those warm-up activities at the beginning of the lesson, that's what you're doing, but then you're going to make it a little more intentional, talking about social emotional learning competencies and the one that you select. So it's going to be just a little switch, but we're sure that you're already using them. I want to create, I'm going to write my example and be quiet so you can type yours. I want to. Tickets. Okay, I'm going to click save. Get out of here. There you go. Perfect. And I see a lot of comments.
It's great to read some of these comments coming in. This was a fantastic presentation, Xatli. And especially at the end, having all of the different languages with the lingua folio. If you think about our students and the emotions they might be processing, especially if they're coming from an ESL background, to have an opportunity to reflect in their mother tongue must be so heartwarming for them. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. We really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for participating. I see, Sarah, do you want me to stop sharing the screen? I see a lot of comments, so you have access to the Jamboard and you can come back and read all the different ideas on how they're going to implement this. But I think I can give you the screen if you need to give any other information. And thank you for having us.
Fantastic. And definitely feel free to check back. There's a lot of great posts going on to the Jamboard. So again, thank you so much, Xatli, for sharing this with us.